رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Today's topic, inshallah, is hellfire. And so I'm going to be staying away from topics like the events of the Day of Judgment and the different punishments that are meted out for different individuals. Rather, I'm just going to talk about hellfire itself. Not specifically what each group goes through, but just what it's like. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it and how His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam describes it. Now, one important point to remember, just to introduce this topic, is that from the Christian perspective, they believe that God is love. And they use this as a blanket statement. God is just love. Love, that's it. Now, we as Muslims, we believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-wadud. He is the loving. But at the same time, He is shadidul aqab. He is severe in punishment. He is al-adl, the just. And so the Christian is kind of put in a bit of an awkward position because on the one hand, he believes that God is love, and isn't that so much nicer than you guys that say, you know, you have sort of a tough God? Yeah, but there is bad in the world, and you do believe in hellfire. So the Christian is in a bit of a sticky situation where he says that God is just love. And what does it mean to be just love? I mean, does God look at the believer and say, I love you? And then look at the disbeliever and say, I love you? And then look at the chair and say, I love you? And everything's just love? If that were the case, then love would become meaningless. And so we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is loving for those who rely on Him. Allah is loving for those who do good deeds, the muhsineen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has love for many different people, but it's not just love in general. So this is a point that we need to remember. Another point that I need to sort of use as a disclaimer, and I apologize, but the fact of the matter is that this topic is very, very disturbing, I guess you could say. The topic of hellfire is a tough one to digest. And I'm just going to let you know right now that we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect, and we know that, and we should be comfortable with the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also perfect in punishing. And so the things that I describe are graphic and are scary. But this is justice. So, to begin, the fear and suspense on that day, what will it be like? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it.
وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ وَأَنَّى لَهُ الذِّكْرَى.
That on that day, hellfire will be brought. And on that day, men will remember what they used to do back on earth, but what use will that remembrance be? What good will it be then? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking sort of sarcastically. Yeah, you'll remember on that day, but what good will it be on that day? So when you see hellfire being brought, what's it going to look like? You're going to see this monster, this flaming, burning, angry hellfire that is being dragged by 70,000 chains, as the Prophet ﷺ described. Each of these chains being pulled by 70,000 angels each. We all know that an angel can wipe out the earth. We all know that an angel can destroy the earth with one swing. And yet they're all dragging it. I want you to imagine this scenario. I want you guys to picture this and visualize this moment when people are standing and watching these chains dragging hellfire. What a great day and what a scary day. And everybody, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, everyone will remember what they did on that day. What will this hellfire look like? Just to give you an idea. I want you guys to imagine when you guys go to a camping trip. You guys sit at the fire, but you don't get too close. Why? First of all, it's hot. Second of all, sparks fly. You know, you're sitting at a campfire, sometimes things pop, shoot out little sparks. And you know, a spark, even though I don't even know how big it is, it's super tiny. Sometimes they're a little bit big, sometimes they're extremely small. But either way, you always stay away because they could burn a hole in your shirt, they could burn your skin. You stay away from the fire. You give it some distance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this fire.
إنها ترمي بشرر كالقصر.
Indeed, it, speaking about hellfire, it will throw, tarmi. Rama means to throw, but with strength. Not just like throw, no, it will fire out. Bishararin kal-qasr, sparks that are as big as a castle, as a fortress. I want you to imagine, you're afraid, you keep distance from a spark that might just put a little burn on you because it's so minuscule, it's like the tip of a pin. We're talking about a spark as big as a castle, flying out as it gets dragged towards you. As you're watching these things shoot out all sorts of sparks, you're standing there in awe. And you're witnessing this scenario.
فكيف تتقون إن كفرتم يوما يجعل الولدان شيبا.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and how will you fear? And how will you even protect yourself on that day? And He describes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes, a day that would make a child's hair go white. The child will go completely gray. Keep in mind, a child is innocent. A child doesn't have any sins. He hasn't done anything wrong. And his hair is going white. And he is becoming gray because of the fear on that day. What about the sinner? What about the one who is now remembering everything that he did as this thing gets dragged forward? What will be the attitude of the disbeliever on that day?
إن الذين كفروا وماتوا وهم كفار فلن يقبل من أحدهم ملء الأرض ذهبا ولو افتدى به أولئك لهم عذاب أليم وما لهم من ناصرين.
SubhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, those who disbelieve and die while they are disbelievers, never would the whole capacity of the earth in gold be accepted for their ransom. If they try to put up some sort of a ransom, saying, oh Allah, I'll give the whole earth, it won't be accepted of them. Why is it so scary? Because of the hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ says on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask the one who is being punished in the fire, and the one who's being punished the lightest in the fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask him, if you had everything that you ever wanted on earth, everything that you wanted, if you had it right now, would you give it to save yourself? Would you get rid of it then? The man will say, yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say in response, I wanted less than that. Back when you were on earth, I wanted much less than that. I didn't want the whole world in gold. I didn't ask you to go make $1 million and give it in charity. Zakat is how much percent? I asked you for much less than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just asked you to worship Him because He's the one who gave you everything. Imagine that. Imagine the humiliation and the fear, knowing that I'll give anything on this day. I'll give the whole world. But you can't give anything because you had the opportunity to give so little and you were too stingy for that. Now, hellfire itself. As you're watching this thing being dragged, what does it look like? One of the names of hellfire is Jahim. Jahim comes from the root word Jaham, which means it's the description of when a lion stares at its prey. Everybody knows what that look looks like, right? You've seen it, I'm sure, on some sort of a nature channel. When they show the lion as it's ready to pounce, ready to jump at its prey. That look it has in its eyes, that death stare, that hunger, that desire for blood. That's the look that hellfire gives. Why? Because he's hungry for his prey. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,